very good.
Good. How was the trip in?
It was, well, a bit congested, but
Yeah.
other than that, fine.
You do bicycle, transit?
Cycle.
Cycle, yeah.
Or, well, both. but-
Oh, absolutely. A dual system of delivery
Yes,
based on necessity and whatever else.
exactly.
Good haircut, by the way.
Yes.
Or I should say, a haircut, by the way.
How have you been for the last little while?
Good, yeah, thanks for asking, yeah. Yeah, good. Last Wednesday was a bit weird because of the dust and the smoke from the fires.
Yes.
Yeah, it was funny. I was working and someone came in and said, "It's the apocalypse." And I said, "Did you mean in terms of change?" "No, it's the end of the world." And I said, "Okay." But it was a strange day. No kids playing. It was an odd day. I'm sure it was the same where you worked.
Yes, the sky was pitch orange.
Yeah.
I've only seen, in person, I've only seen something like it one at a time when I was in Montreal.
Yeah, that was strange. But anyway, but I had to say, well, do you mean the apocalypse means change? It doesn't mean the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. No, it's been good. Yeah, good 2 weeks.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I guess just I'll start with updates. I mean,
Sure.
in terms of my health, even further improvements than last time.
Great.
And I've found out a series of items that I'm now allergic to with Addison's.
Okay.
So I've got to tailor my diet around avoiding those. And it's not going to be too difficult.
Right.
But, well, it's just I guess, an added, I don't want to say stressor, but it's something that I don't need.
Well, yeah, it's things. I mean, at some level, it's things being taken away. So maybe stressor is too strong a word, but still, there's things that you eat that are being taken away.
Yeah.
I see, they're edible things, I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mainly, the most prominent one I have to avoid high potassium foods.
Right.
Found that out a few days ago, and I'm quite allergic now, or I always have had a sensitivity to isolated whey protein.
Huh.
Which isn't terribly surprising, but, well, I'm only going to try. Obviously, the compounds for it are found in all dairy products, but I don't have a problem with most better produced solid forms of it.
Right.
For it being added as, well, any form of synthetic property, well, I just gotta try and find.
Right. Because it would be in processed foods, I imagine.
Yeah, it is.
Part of a processed product.
As well as higher creatine, which apparently that compound is actually, I just found out today, creatine itself is not naturally occurring. It's also a combination of certain compounds. So I've just got to try and I'm going to try and navigate what the natural forms of it are that create it and mitigate combinations of it.
Right. Huh. This creatine is formed in our bodies too.
Yes.
I mean, it's part of. I'm not gonna go there. My knowledge of chemical production in the body is rudimentary at best, but yeah.
Well, I mean, given that Addison's and all disease physiologically starts from autoimmune dysfunction.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it having intolerance to a property produced within the body, I mean, that's not terribly surprising. But
So what does it feel like, if I can ask? These are, I mean, yeah, they're things that you can't eat, things you can't have, things being taken away. It does add more work to, eating food,
yes.
more awareness.
Well, to be frank, I've never had, for foods that are higher in potassium, I've never had favorability to it, and that's also, well, psychophysiologically, that's not, now that I've developed an allergy to it, that's not surprising either.
Right.
That's a natural outcome. And I mean, the only real thing that's a letdown that I'm going to have to restrict now is dates, it seems, or more dried fruits.
Oh, okay.
Because the dried versions of those, it increases the
Right.
potassium. But
Yeah.
that's really it. I mean, finally, I've gotten my sugar addiction, it seems, under control.
Yeah.
Now, given the fact that I actually need higher amounts of, I didn't mention this to you, did I?
I think so, but carry on.
With Addison's, it's very unique in terms of endocrinology. It's a form of adrenal fatigue, but it's not the more common version, which is overactive, where it's overactive stress hormone production. It's the opposite, it's underactive. So instead of avoiding any foods that are more acidic and that can raise cortisol, adrenaline, hormones such as, I need to actually focus on those foods.
To increase cortisol and hormonal, okay.
Yeah, specifically, what's really helped me, what's literally been saving, I said this to a naturopathic oncologist, what's been saving my life has been caffeine and sugar.
Right.
Not when, I still would, I was very depressive, overdo it, but I was gravitating towards that still for a reason.
Yeah, that's fascinating actually. And that would be the source that was most accessible and would give the most direct result.
Yes.
Caffeine and sugar,
And now, I've really found ways of balancing it. I've actually been, in terms of making my own coffee, I've been making a spiced coffee with peppers and...
Sounds good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then adding sugar to it so it actually balances it out.
Right.
So, and I have really never felt better in such a long time.
That's great. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
It's always fascinating to me that one could extend it to the psyche too, but that the body does know what it wants.
Yes, it does.
And it does of its own accord. And then that seeking of, like you say, caffeine, sugar, it's obviously the need for the production of the cortisol for stress hormone. It's amazing, which are necessary.
Yes, and psychologically, I'll just ask, for the two hemispheres of the cerebrum, in terms of the frontal cortex, do you know what, I guess I'll say, sensations trigger reaction versus analytical?
I don't know if I can quantify which sensations.
Or I guess I'll say,
but
the compounds with associated sensations.
Okay, so what is here? Cool, I like it. So left brain generally, so we're looking for physical compounds that do it, like that we ingest, or what am I hunting for?
That we ingest.
That we ingest?
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Okay. I'll just say it's very, very simple when you know it. is for reaction, sweet is for intellect.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that simple solution.
Yeah.
So spice is right brain.
No, spice is yes. Dyscalculia.
That's okay.
Yes. Spice is left brain.
Spice is left brain.
Yeah, and sweet is for right.
Yeah.
And given my studies of addiction as well, that in terms of alcoholism and sugar addiction, that makes a lot of sense given how they're produced.
Yeah.
And the types of personalities that become addicted to them. Also, cocaine.
Yes.
But we've discussed before, I've always been more analytical, and I actually asked my naturopath, because they have a few patients with Addison's disease.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious, they couldn't really pinpoint it, but I asked if you could disclose, what about different personality types with Addison's? Is there any recurring patterns? And the one that they honed in on just briefly was that one was an intensive labor. That was it.
Right.
But from what I've been able to find through my own discoveries of this, there seems to be more so two types of personalities that end up getting Addison's. One being very charismatic people, and the other being highly intellectual.
That actually, if there is, that would be a good data sample to look at why that occurs.
Yes.
What aligns there. Yeah.
And for the longest time, in terms of the psyche's connection to the body, for me, I know exactly why I've gotten it. I have a lot of suppressed aggression. And given that neurologically the parasympathetic coordinates that, well, it's no wonder. Once I eventually got ill, became put under a lot of intensive exhaustion and never really channeling my anger, channeling it in a way to where I would be able to express it without having it all completely erupt at once. That's what has done it a lot.
So suppressed and also regulated. Part of you was maybe that the rage or anger is not finding the channels, but at the same time it's being held, being contained, etc.
Yes. But well, okay, I guess that's it for my updates right now. Did you have any ideas for this session?
Yeah. I was so I had a few thoughts stemming from where we were last time. One is if any unconscious material sat with you, or any images in this 2-week period. It doesn't have to be dreams. If any other images came to mind, anything that's crossed your field of awareness, that's always of interest. And I think part of working in the interior. So if there are things like that have come across, I also too the acknowledging when we were last time talking. Of course, part of my field of attention is going to rage and anger, we're gonna let that sit over there for the moment. Not something that we can't deal with, it's just like, well, the access valve to that, the way in is not just, let's talk about your rage. We're not gonna do that. Let's talk about your anger. Sorry, I use the word rage, you use the word anger. But there was an interesting comment you made of not the fear of becoming, and again, this is always to be rephrased by you, the fear of becoming, or the parts of your, like your mother and father.
Yes.
A normal thing, I might add, that everybody in various ways confronts. But that sat with me. And normal, again, that you see your forebears, your progenitors, and you don't want to be that, obviously, for other reasons. And it made me think, in terms of the archetypal or symbolic mother and father, and things to reflect on. So there's the fear of not becoming them, the fear of not wanting that to happen, and thinking, and actually, this is really, to me, the past can always come in, but also where you are now, where things are now. That's maybe a way to sort of, if we like to have a temporal place or a stance to work from. I mean, if the past comes in, it does. But I'm not a big believer in, and I've not seen it in practice, that for some people, going to the past is critical. But actually, it will speak when it's needed by the person and their consciousness or their unconsciousness. It'll speak when necessary. So where we are now, that's the way to look at it. And then I was also sort of just fantasizing, meditating upon that, and thinking, all right, so genuine fear makes sense. You don't want to be what they are. And then your rational awareness, which is you are not them, right? They sit there as a kind of specter or image of what one could become. But you don't get the sense you're subsumed, or you're not, to recognize you're not them. So there's that. That's one thing to reflect upon. But also, within the family system, if you will, within the family geography, what are, and it can be a combination of lived experience, like actual lived, remembered experience, or current experience, and also your projection or perception of it. What are some other, wherever in, and I'm going to say the family's quite big, like it doesn't have to be blood either. What are some other associations you go, aha, that I like that part of me, or that's something that I would become. So you see, so you start building a constellation, as it were, imaginatively, of, and you've been immersed in, and you fled before. Fled may be the wrong word, well, maybe not. You journeyed before out. You'll be journeying out again at some point, obviously. And change is happening. But I was thinking of other models, other connections that would come to mind within the family structure. I think I've done a long-winded explanation.
Well, I think don't worry, I understand what you're trying to request I detail. There's a few.
Yeah.
Starting with positive associations.
Yeah.
Honestly, there is really only, I want to say maybe one or two.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
And that's one of my cousins, who's about 10 years older than me, who within only very recently, in the last 6 6 months or so, half a year, I've really connected with.
Right.
Or I guess, well, you could say reconnected. We'd been more interpersonally intimate briefly when I was first going along my expedition to the north,
Yep.
when I was living at my extended relative's cottage. And that time, we had briefly gained a tighter bond, but now, and I always had suspicions about them that we were very similar.
Right.
And it turns out my intuition was right, and I'm a pretty good judge of character, and we are. Very.
Right.
In many regards. They share a lot of my ideologies, a lot of my observations of the world in their own way. They've seen my work. They don't fully grasp all of it, but they understand. I haven't fully. We've been meaning to talk about it, I guess, for a bit, but they understand the gist of it.
Yeah.
And overall, they're the only family member related genetically that I can say I have very deep connections to.
Right.
And there's maybe one other who I've only spoken with very momentary stance, and it was more so just them ranting to me and me just listening, but that's the only other person I could somewhat think. Yeah. Outside of that, I don't have a lot of positive associations to my entire family.
Yeah.
And I'll count them as negative, but just other associations in my relations. Putting it in archetypes, authority, really just mini megalomaniac tyrants.
Mm-hmm.
Veteran hero.
Yep.
Hero of the entire structure of our family, you could say, with my grandfather.
Yep.
Some business gurus. I mean, in our own little structure, but nonetheless.
This is what, this is actually, this is, if you were to put the gallery together with the archetypes, whether their influence or sphere was large or small, that's what they are. They're the business gurus.
Yeah. Entrepreneurs of some kind.
Yeah.
Very I'll just say it very bluntly.
Yeah.
Anxious, and in terms of those who are cisgender female in our family line.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anxious, repressed women.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Many who believe they are strong and independent, but it's a facade. And some like loose religious associations, I'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Both to Christianity and Judaism.
Yep.
On my father's side, there's always just been the element of Jewish heritage, but never it's never fully been tied to us religiously, only ethnically.
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably it, the general themes that I could point to.
Yeah, so authority tyrants, a singular veteran hero. Is that on your mother's side or your father's?
Mother's.
Mother's, yeah, maternal. Business gurus.
Yeah.
Anxious. It's funny. Women who are repressed but don't believe they are.
Yeah.
They sound like they're divided. Like they are in fact cisgender or women, but mostly women. They are in fact under a kind of pressure. They're being held, constrained, but they don't see that or experience it. They believe otherwise. So there's a division. And then where does the religious? What is that? That's where there's a group of, or is that part of another system, another group? It's part of the pantheon, if you will, the archetypal pantheon.
Yeah, it's really just the wider cultural association,
Right. So,
and it's just taken as general normality, I guess I'll say.
Right. So, Christianity and Judaism both, those are the two religious backgrounds, systems.
Yeah.
But they're not, do you have any fanatic believers who, or are they just generally, it's not, it's part of, it's like you said, it's not lived, but you know what I mean, it's part of the background, part of where they come from.
Mostly it is just as it has always been, as I've described before in these sessions, it's just been a background element, except for one individual in our extended family who is very fanatical, but they've been a side character, I'll say, in like the greater scheme of my relations.
Right. And if we veteran hero is a grandfather, are the business gurus male, female, mix, or
male?
Male. And the authority tyrants?
Male and female, but predominantly male.
Okay, and some female. And cousin and other family member kind of live outside this. And these are primarily negative associations with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's okay. I mean, these are obviously real people, but also the imaginal, the archetypal is part of it as well.
Mm. By the way, I should just state as just a bit of a little interjection.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned it before. If it's easy for you, you don't feel any pressure to like explain Jungian terms associated to other scientific terms that I may use, because I clearly understand the Jungian.
You'll translate, absolutely. That's good to know. So we built up this. Now, if I was to, the other question of it is related to the shadow exploration that's begun.
Mm.
The parts of ourselves we don't see, the parts of ourselves that are there. Where in these 4 archetypes within the family, where are the parts that you admire in them? You don't have to answer this, but is there a part that you go, there's something that draws you, something that goes, it's not total rejection, but maybe you admire or that you relate to. That's maybe a better way to put it. And you don't have to label it right now, but where are the threads that, because part of the rejection comes from, it can come from, conscious ego, because you have your own sense of morality, values, and beliefs that you've formed. It can be a reaction to, it can be against, these anti-heroes, if you will, in some way, but where are the parts where you go, that's something about that I like, or that I see the value of, even no matter how tiny.
Well, I can definitely say yes, I would. I mean, you'd have to give me time, but
yeah, I know it does not. I'm not suggesting that you sit here and label it, but it's something. If that reflection interests you, to go, this is things I reject. These are things that are alien to me. These are things that I don't like, and you know, they're people. But they're also, they each embody worldviews, ways of living, ways of experiencing.
yes.
And just to imagine, well, what's valuable about that? What is something of value in that? Not the way that they behave, not the way they treat you necessarily, but in the view they represent, the view they embody. It's something just to think about.
Well, I could say that I will state that for all of them, I understand that I relate to, as much as I can, I'll say there's societal suffering. I
Yeah.
feel I do.
Yeah.
In terms of my admirations for them, it would come in, I'd say, the immediate. I mean, who could I pick from the actual list of problematic individuals? If I want to say, you know what, actually, I really can't pinpoint it right now.
It's okay,
it's,
don't.
It's really not something that it's not something that I consciously fixate on.
No, and don't. It really is a creative imaginative exercise at some level. It's not, in that you acknowledge their suffering. You can see it and acknowledge their suffering. And then at some point, in some way, it's, what we're doing here is basically relating to at a distance, and not suggesting that, you know, we started off with two members of family that there's genuine connection with, that relatability. Now we're looking at, I mean, and you can guess the area that we're in, which is shadow, other. Trying to just tease out, again with some distance, what are the values, qualities that, and that's the thing too, think of it as values and qualities that actually are admirable, or that, if not admirable, are functional, that have value. That's the thing that you can imagine. So you see a thread of that, a bit of that in that. Because granted, makes sense, and you know, they're there, but what's in them that, and I'm seeing them kind of as a collective now, not as an individual. Easy for me to do because I don't know them. But that's the sort of way to reflect on it. What is there that speaks, that has something positive, no matter how, you know, review. What are they about? What's going on there? I mean, it's hard to, I mean, I don't want to do it, but you know, anxious cisgender females, repressed women, divided. Yeah, they're suffering for sure. But what can you gain? What can you see that is, you know, what's their ability? What's their, you know, what do they have there that's interesting? That's all. It's just a way to look at it.
I guess one thing would be is if I really had to, like, because again, I'll say I would see it in the immediate.
Yeah.
But just reflecting on it from a distance and passage of time between whenever I actually meet them.
Yeah.
I guess on some commendable level, they have a very staunch ability to completely mentally guard themselves from any external perceptions when they are enclosed in the family units, like at our shared lake house.
Yeah.
And I guess they're able to. I admire, I guess, how much they just are able to not care at all about how deplorable they may be around one another. I mean, it sounds strange, but
they're protecting themselves for that. There's the protection.
Yeah. Where there's just, they're able to find some, at least, false sense of relief around this environment that seems familial.
Right.
Probably, actually, if I'm really looking at it, that place specifically, the lake house.
Yeah.
Looking at it in context, given the fact that I lived there, I was caretaker, you could say, of the place for a time.
Yeah.
Given me being so foreign to all of them, I'm probably a lot more of a threatening entity there, with all of them around, at this place of leisure, than if I was at maybe their personal residence or anywhere else with them, probably.
Right.
Because that land is very, it is significant to my family.
Yeah.
In a way, that's a problem, but it's still, nonetheless, it's very sentimental.
Yeah, here's where we've arrived. I'm not sure about the rest, but the lake house is, as you said, a very loaded place. A place of, am I assuming as well that a place people retreat to for holiday, for respite, for relaxation, the lake house.
Yes.
And did the grandfather live there?
No,
who lived there? Somebody lived there.
No, technically no one. I mean, I lived there for a time. It was my place of, it was my actual home for a time.
Yeah.
It was also some other individual's housing unit for a time in our family.
Yeah.
A while back, but no one officially lived there. It was, my grandfather had purchased the lands. We paid off the actual property itself, but obviously there are the other expenses.
Sure.
Hydro, heating, water, all that.
Yeah.
But he sort of built the place from the ground up, I guess you could say.
That's how I understand that. That's right. So I thought he lived there, but it was his
gift, I guess you could say, to the rest of the. Well, I mean, it literally was his gift, passing gift in some regard to his children, and thus the rest of the family. And it's just become a sacred tradition in my lineage. That place, it was always, that's where everyone conglomerated. And everyone could be their not authentic self, but a more revealing self, I guess you could say.
Yeah. a self that was selves that were revealed to you.
Yeah.
If not each other. And this is where, I mean, is it a place that, so you lived there, and you mentioned too that once they're out of their homes, once they're out of their regular homes, the places where they usually dwell and have their routines, you would perhaps be more of a threat to them. It would come, it sounds to me like this is a place where, despite the fact it's to get away, it's the summer place, this is the place where things were exposed, things were seen, things for you, like things, you know what I mean? It became an awareness of this. It's like you take everything and you put it in, and I don't know if they were all there at the same time, obviously, but it's like you put everything into a very concentrated bottle or chamber.
Yeah.
You know, it's a container. Grandpa built a container, a very charged container, whether he knew it or not. You know?
Yes, he did. And I don't suspect, okay, actually, eventually I suspect he did know that, but
in some way I'm sure he did, but
he couldn't really do anything past into his older age at that point.
Yeah.
And now, I just noticed, is that yours? The hat in the backpack?
Yes.
Just took notice it says cottage on the hat.
Yep. There it is.
Heck, maybe that influenced my
Sure.
drawing me to this topic, but
Yep.
Now I have literally when I've been there, my political stances are so opposed to almost all of my family in so many ways. They don't consciously believe so, but they behave as such subconsciously. That place is supposed to be an escape for them from people like me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I come into the mix there, now especially in recent years, there is always tension that looms, even though I have always been one who, I have removed myself in this environment from any real, when I remove myself from any real conflict or try to, and then when I do that, I'm seen as even more of a disturbance because I'm this very odd entity that is just kind of hovering in the background over everyone.
Right.
Who has this disapproving demeanor, or it seems to them clearly, disapproving demeanor to our actions, and so I'll get subtly berated for that as well, and it's back and forth. Yeah. And they want a fantasy of me every time that I show up at any family function.
Yeah, what's their fantasy?
Their fantasy is wanting just another white male child who adores neoliberal capitalism and just participates in the most vaguely sexist and racist and homophobic acts.
Yeah,
and who
you better come along for the ride and be like us.
Yes,
make us comfy.
Maybe have, now that you're 22, please start having some poorly produced red wine. And
sorry to laugh, but okay, this is please join the group.
Yes,
make us comfortable.
Yeah. And it's not even be like that or leave. It's no, we want you to stay here, but you just need to stop making it so complicated for you to stay here.
Right. That is very interesting too. You're welcome here, However, you make it complicated to stay here.
Or
This is-
more so,
Yeah, I'm simplifying, but you know,
more so like, you're welcome to stay here, but please, for the love of life, just be this factitious idea we want.
right.
Be our doll.
Yes.
Or just stay out of the way.
Yeah,
But we're really not gonna like it if you stay out of the way, so please just be this fantasy.
right. Please fulfill our fantasy, and so we don't have to deal with it. Okay, so where we're heading here, aside from trauma and past, is actually, I mean, this you know, but this may be interesting to explore. I've always had the sensation working with you, and I acknowledge fully there can be projection from my own psyche, but I always had the sense that it was as if you were adopted. And I don't think you're not adopted, are you? You're biological.
No,
Okay.
I would have.
but-
It's not a scenario where there was a cover up of adoption. I
No.
would have, given who I am, I would have found out by
Yeah,
now.
so let's just rule it out, and that would be another thing. It'd be fine. Adopting is fine. But I've always had this intuitive sense or an image that, regardless of what happened in the 22 years you've been on the planet, that you arrived adopted into a place that, you know, in this you've described it. So that's a fact. That makes things difficult. That's not because you're bad or good or this. It's just that you're different, and you're a different kind of person in this environment. So you're facing, at a very early age, and I don't want to undo things because your energy has changed today, it's lighter, but I think it's interesting to acknowledge that if you look at it from a Jungian perspective, you don't have to succumb, relate, be pressured to this outside world. But